الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين ختم الأنبياء ورحمة للعالمين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam and brothers and sisters in humanity, for tonight's reminder I would like to remind myself before anybody else, and maybe inshallah you will also benefit from the reminder about love, about true love. How do we love one another? We are all finding ourselves in a situation of lockdown with the people we are probably meant to love the most, our families, our parents, our husbands, our wives, our children, our nearest and our dearest, our closest friends and family. So in these relationships which are meant to be the closest and the most loving, how should we behave to one another? So I want to begin with something really important which we can sometimes lose sight of. The relationship that we have, the love, the feeling that we have for one another must be for the sake of Allah. Absolutely must be for the sake of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the rough translation of which means, whoever of you would like to taste the sweetness of Iman, then let him love a person only for the sake of Allah. Hadith found in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. So if you want to taste the sweetness of Iman, we should only love one another, even our most beloved people, our parents, our husbands, our wives, our children. We should only love them for Allah's sake. This is important. Because once we recognize if we love one another for Allah's sake, amazing benefits can come from that. How do we make sure that we continue to do that? How do we prove that we are loving one another for Allah's sake? Imam Bukhari narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, none amongst you truly believes until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. Now when we find ourselves in difficult situations in the lockdown, do we love for each other what we love for ourselves? Our tempers getting frayed? Our patience becoming lost? Or are we willing to exhibit ithar for those we love? Ithar being giving up that which you love for the one that you love. Giving from yourself for the other. Giving of yourself, preferring the other person's feelings, choices over your own. That's what it means to love for your brother what you love for yourself. And this of course refers even to our brothers and sisters in Islam. How do we treat one another? How do we treat our family members? SubhanAllah, we need to make sure that we are following these advices. One of the ways we know that we can increase in love for one another, again, hadith found in Bukhari, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, give gifts and spread the salam, and you will love one another. So giving each other gifts and giving each other salam is a way of showing love for one another, increasing love for one another. And one of the most important things I think we need to think about in our day and age today is we need to conceal the faults of the people we love. It doesn't mean you ignore those faults. Of course, we give nasihah, but privately. Why am I saying privately? Because nowadays in the era of social media, people publicize one another's mistakes. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he who conceals the faults of a Muslim, Allah will conceal his faults in the world and in the hereafter. Allah is at the back of a servant so long as the servant is at the back of his brother. This is a hadith found in Sahih Muslim. So he conceals the faults. If you conceal the faults of your brother in this world, then you will have your faults concealed in this world and in the hereafter. Allah is at the back of a servant so long as the servant is at the back of his brother. Meaning he's not in the front of him spreading his mistakes, publicizing them. He's concealing them. This is a huge lesson for us. Before we want to share anything about one of our brothers or sisters, we need to remind ourselves, maybe this is backbiting, maybe this is slander. Even if it's a mistake, we should conceal it and give nasihah rather than publicize it. We need to stop being suspicious as well of one another. Why? Because Allah reminds us in Surah Hujurat, He says, roughly translated, O you who believe, avoid much suspicion, because indeed in much suspicion there may be grave sin. And spy not, neither backbite on one another. Would one of you love to eat the flesh of his dead brother? You would abhor it. So keep your duty to Allah. Lo, Allah is relenting and merciful. We shouldn't be suspicious of one another. We shouldn't make suspicious thoughts even about one another. Why? Because in it there may be grave sin. We shouldn't backbite one another. These are all huge lessons for us. More so now at this time of lockdown and in this month of Ramadan, where we're trying to improve our characters. And finally, hadith found in Muslim, Sahih Muslim and Tirmidhi. Rasulullah ﷺ said, do not have malice against another Muslim. Don't be envious of other Muslims. Don't go against a Muslim and forsake him. O the slaves of Allah, be like brothers with one another. It is not viable for a Muslim to desert his brother for over 3 days. Let us think about the relationships we have. Do we hold malice, envy? Do we go against our brothers? Do we forsake them? We need to remember, being part of a brotherhood is part of our deen. So we need to make sure we are building bonds of brotherhood, not breaking them. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa